Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Books and Bytes. Today, we're diving deep into the Mahabharata, an ancient Indian epic. That's not only a sprawling tale of family feuds and cosmic battles, but also a profound philosophical and spiritual text.
Yeah, it's true. Think Iliad and Odyssey combined, but with added layers of mythology, philosophy, and ethical dilemmas that still resonate with readers today.
Right, it's not just a story, it's like a whole library of wisdom packed into one epic narrative. So before we get lost in the details, can you give us the Books and Bytes version of what are the main themes and what's the story in a nutshell?
At its heart, the Mahabharata is about the struggle between two sets of cousins, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, for the throne of Hastinapura. This rivalry escalates into the Kurukshetra War, a devastating conflict that becomes a backdrop for exploring themes of dharma, duty, karma, the nature of good and evil, and the complexities of human relationships.
Okay, so we've got family drama, epic battles,
Yeah.
and deep philosophical questions. Sounds intense.
Sure.
But before we jump into the war, I'm curious about the epic's origins. How did this massive story come to be?
The Mahabharata is traditionally attributed to the sage Vyasa, who is said to have composed it and dictated it to Ganesha, the elephant-headed god of wisdom. It was passed down orally for generations, evolving and expanding with each retelling before being written down.
Ah, the power of oral tradition. So it's like a giant game of telephone. But instead of a silly phrase, we got this epic masterpiece. Do you think this oral tradition might be why the Mahabharata feels so vast and multi-layered?
Absolutely. As the story was passed down through generations, various myths, teachings, and philosophical ideas were woven into the main narrative, creating this incredibly rich tapestry of stories within a story.
So it's not just a linear plot. It's like a whole universe of interconnected stories. I remember reading that the epic starts even before the main conflict, with a cosmic tug-of-war between the gods and demons.
That's right. The Mahabharata begins with the myth of the churning of the ocean, where the gods and demons collaborate, uneasily, to obtain the elixir of immortality, Amrita. This myth sets the stage for many of the epic's central themes.
Like what? What can we learn from this cosmic tug-of-war?
Well, for one, it highlights the insatiable desire for power and immortality. Both the gods and demons are driven by greed and ambition, which ultimately leads to conflict and chaos. It foreshadows the similar struggles for power and control that will play out between the Pandavas and Kauravas.
So even the gods aren't immune to these very human desires. It kind of sets a cynical tone for the rest of the epic, don't you think?
Perhaps, but it also emphasizes the cyclical nature of these struggles. Greed and ambition are not limited to any one group or time period. They are recurring challenges that humans must confront throughout history.
That's a good point.
Okay.
So we have this cosmic battle, but then the narrative shifts to a seemingly unrelated story about two snake sisters, Kadru and Vinata, and a wager that results in the birth of a magnificent white steed, Ushveswaras. Why is this story included? It seems a bit random.
It might seem random, but remember, the Mahabharata is all about interconnectedness. The seemingly small wager sets in motion a chain of events. That will ultimately lead to the Kurukshetra War.
Hold on. How does a bet between snake sisters lead to a war generations later? That's quite a leap.
Patience. The Mahabharata unfolds slowly, revealing connections and consequences that might not be immediately apparent. It's like a giant tapestry where each thread, no matter how small, contributes to the overall pattern.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Keep going. What happens after the snake sisters wager?
Well, there's the captivating tale of Upamanyu, a student tasked with guarding his master's cows. He ends up blind and trapped in a well, but through his unwavering devotion to the Ashwin twins, divine healers, his sight is restored.
It's a story about faith and perseverance.
Right.
But how does it fit into the larger epic narrative?
It highlights the importance of dharma, even in the face of adversity. Upamanyu's unwavering devotion to his duty, even when facing seemingly insurmountable challenges, is a model for how the Pandavas will later navigate their own trials and tribulations. Remember, the Mahabharata is as much about inner struggles as it is about external conflicts.
Right. It's about the battle within as much as the battle without. So we've got cosmic myths, snake sisters, and a student trapped in a well. It's a lot to take in. But before we move on, there's one passage that really struck me. Vyasa compares the Mahabharata to a tree, with the roots representing the foundation, the trunk being the main narrative, the branches being the subplots, and the fruit being the ultimate wisdom gained from the story.
That's a beautiful analogy, isn't it? It captures the epic's sprawling yet interconnected nature, each part, no matter how seemingly insignificant, contributes to the overall meaning and impact of the work.
And it reminds us that we're still in the early stages of this deep dive. We've only just begun to explore the roots and branches of this epic tree.
Exactly. We've glimpsed the epic's vast scope and some of its key themes, but there's much more to uncover as we journey deeper into the heart of the Mahabharata.
Well, I'm ready to delve deeper. What happens next in this grand narrative?
Next, we encounter King Janamejay's snake sacrifice, a seemingly brutal event that seems to come out of nowhere. However, this episode is crucial for understanding the king's desire to wipe out the serpent race. He's driven by a thirst for revenge for his father, King Parikshit, who was cursed to die from a snake bite.
So it's about ancestral grudges and the cycle of revenge. But wait, I remember a young sage named Astika intervening and saving the snakes from annihilation. Why was he so determined to stop the sacrifice?
Astika's lineage is intertwined with both humans and serpents. His intervention is a powerful example of how even ancient enmities can be overcome through compassion and understanding. It also highlights the complex interplay of fate, free will, and the consequences of our actions, all of which are central themes in the Mahabharata.
Okay, so we've got cosmic battles, snake wagers, a student's trial, and a king's quest for revenge. It's already a wild ride, and we haven't even gotten to the main rivalry between the Pandavas and Kauravas yet.
That's where the Mahabharata truly takes flight. But remember, all these seemingly disparate stories and characters contribute to the epic's overarching themes and prepare us for the central conflict that lies ahead.
Okay, I'm ready to meet these key players. Give me the lowdown on the Pandavas. Who are they, and what makes them tick?
Well, first we have Yudhishthira, the eldest and rightful heir to the throne. He is known for his unwavering commitment to dharma, even when faced with impossible choices. Think of him as the moral compass of the group.
That sounds promising. But is he also a bit too rigid in his adherence to dharma? I mean, sometimes following the rules blindly can lead to unintended consequences.
That's a keen observation, and a question the Mahabharata itself grapples with. Yudhishthira's unwavering righteousness is both his strength and his weakness. His inflexibility will indeed lead to some difficult situations, but it also highlights the challenges of staying true to one's principles in a world full of moral ambiguity.
Okay, so we've got the righteous but potentially inflexible leader. Who else is on Team Pandava?
Next, there's Bhima, the mighty warrior, impulsive and fiercely loyal to his brothers. He's the muscle of the group, the one you want on your side in a fight. Think of him as the Pandavas' champion, always ready to defend his family's honor, even if it means resorting to violence.
So we've got brains and brawn covered. What other talents do the Pandavas bring to the table?
Then there's Arjuna, the skilled archer and embodiment of focus and discipline. He's destined for greatness, but he'll also be forced to confront the moral dilemmas of war in a profound way.
And he's the one who has that famous dialogue with Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
I definitely need to unpack that later. But for now, tell me more about the last two Pandavas.
Finally, we have the twins, Nakula and Sahadeva, each possessing unique skills and perspectives. Nakula is known for his horsemanship and his understanding of animal lore, while Sahadeva is skilled in swordsmanship and astrology. Together, they complement the strengths of their older brothers.
So we've got the righteous leader, the powerful warrior, the skilled archer, and the multi-talented twins. Sounds like a formidable team. But there's one more character we can't forget, Draupadi, the Pandavas' shared wife. Now that's a story in itself.
Indeed. Draupadi's character is one of the most complex and fascinating in the Mahabharata. She's intelligent, strong-willed, and fiercely independent, yet she faces immense challenges in a patriarchal society. Her story is a constant reminder of the power dynamics and societal norms that women had to navigate, even in ancient times.
And let's be real, the whole shared wife situation adds another layer of intrigue and complexity to their family dynamics.
It certainly does. Draupadi's polyandrous marriage, while unconventional, is a key element of the Pandavas story and raises many questions about love, duty, and societal norms. It also sets the stage for some of the most dramatic and emotionally charged moments in the epic.
Okay. We've met the Pandavas and their remarkable wife. But who are they up against? Tell me about the Kauravas. What drives their rivalry with the Pandavas?
The Kauravas are 100 brothers, led by the eldest, the Duryodhana. He is ambitious, envious, and consumed by a desire for power. His resentment towards the Pandavas, particularly Yudhishthira, stems from a belief that he is the rightful heir to the throne.
So it's a classic power struggle fueled by jealousy and ambition. But I'm guessing it goes deeper than that.
Right.
There must be more to this rivalry than just who gets to sit on the throne.
You're right. The conflict between the Pandavas and Kauravas represents a clash of ideologies, personalities,
Hmm.
and destinies. It's a battle between dharma and adharma, righteousness and wickedness.
Okay. I'm starting to see how this epic rivalry sets the stage for a battle of epic proportions, a clash that will shake the very foundations of their world.
You're catching on quickly. But remember, the Mahabharata is not a simple tale of good versus evil. Both the Pandavas and Kauravas are complex characters with their own strengths and flaws. They make mistakes, they experience doubt, and they are forced to confront the consequences of their actions.
It sounds like this story is less about picking sides and more about understanding the complexities of human nature, even in the midst of epic battles and cosmic dilemmas.
Precisely. The Mahabharata invites us to explore the gray areas of morality, to grapple with difficult choices, and to recognize the interconnectedness of all things.
Well, I'm hooked. We've laid the groundwork, explored the epic's origins, and met the key players. Now I'm ready to dive into the heart of the conflict, the Kurukshetra War. Bring on the epic battles.
Hold on tight. The Kurukshetra War is not just about physical combat. It's a philosophical and spiritual battleground where the destinies of individuals and nations will be decided. But that's a story for our next segment. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Mahabharata. Last time, we explored the epic's mythical origins, met the key players, the Pandavas and Kauravas, and glimpsed the simmering tensions that will erupt into the Kurukshetra War.
It's amazing how the Mahabharata weaves together these seemingly unrelated stories and characters, creating a tapestry of interconnected events that ultimately lead to this epic clash.
Indeed. The Mahabharata is a masterclass in foreshadowing and interconnectedness. Every event, every character, plays a role in the unfolding drama.
So, let's talk about the war itself. What triggers this all-out conflict between the Pandavas and Kauravas?
The rivalry simmers for years, fueled by Duryodhana's jealousy and ambition. However, the tipping point comes with a fateful game of dice.
Ah, yes. The infamous game of dice. I remember reading about this. It's not just a friendly game, is it?
Not at all. Yudhishthira, the eldest Pandava, known for his righteousness, is tricked into gambling away their kingdom and even Draupadi's freedom.
That's where the disrobing scene happens.
Right.
A powerful moment that highlights Draupadi's humiliation and the Kauravas' cruelty.
It is. This event is a turning point in the epic. It pushes the conflict beyond a political power struggle. It becomes a battle for justice, dignity, and the very soul of their kingdom.
And I bet Draupadi doesn't take this lying down. She's a strong, independent woman. How does she react to this injustice?
Draupadi is enraged and heartbroken, but she also displays remarkable strength and resilience. She cries out to Krishna for help, and her humiliation becomes a rallying cry for the Pandavas and their supporters.
So this game of dice isn't just about land and possessions. It becomes a symbol of the Kauravas' arrogance and disregard for dharma.
Exactly, and it sets the stage for a war that will determine the fate of not just these two families, but the entire kingdom.
Okay. The war drums are beating. Give me a sense of the battlefield. How does this war play out?
The Kurukshetra War is described in vivid detail in the Mahabharata. It's a brutal, bloody affair that lasts for 18 days, with countless warriors meeting their demise. It's not just about military strategy and brute force, it's also a battle of ideologies, a clash between dharma and adharma.
And it's in the midst of this chaos that we get the Bhagavad Gita, right?
Right.
Arjuna's crisis of conscience and Krishna's philosophical guidance. Talk about high stakes.
Absolutely. Imagine this. Arjuna, the greatest archer, stands on the battlefield, ready to fight. But when he sees friends and relatives on both sides, ready to kill each other, he's overwhelmed by despair. He questions the meaning of war, the nature of duty, and the consequences of violence.
That's a dilemma many of us can relate to. Even if we've never faced a literal battlefield, the struggle to reconcile our values with the demands of the world, especially when those demands involve causing harm. What does Krishna say to Arjuna in this moment of crisis?
Krishna, acting as Arjuna's charioteer and spiritual guide, delivers a profound philosophical discourse known as the Bhagavad Gita. He urges Arjuna to fulfill his duty as a warrior, but to act without attachment to the results.
So it's about doing what's right, even if it's difficult, even if it goes against your personal feelings. But how do you fight a war without attachment to the results? That seems impossible.
That's the paradox Krishna explores. He explains that the soul is eternal and that death is merely a transition, not an end. He emphasizes the importance of performing one's dharma, even if it seems difficult or morally questionable, without personal desire for reward or fear of punishment.
It's a complex message that has been interpreted in many ways throughout history. Some see it as a justification for violence in the service of a higher cause, while others emphasize the importance of selfless action and detachment from ego.
Exactly. The Bhagavad Gita doesn't offer easy answers or simple solutions. It invites us to grapple with the complexities of duty, action, and the nature of reality.
It sounds like a text that you could spend a lifetime studying and still find new insights.
It is. The Bhagavad Gita is a timeless masterpiece that continues to inspire and challenge readers today.
Okay, so back to the battlefield. We have these epic confrontations, philosophical dilemmas, and moments of incredible heroism and tragedy. What are some of the key events of the war that stand out?
The war is filled with dramatic twists and turns. Bhishma, the grandsire of both families, displays incredible prowess but ultimately falls after a long and arduous battle. Karna, a formidable warrior on the Kauravas side, faces his tragic destiny, bound by oaths and loyalties that ultimately lead to his downfall. And of course, there's Arjuna, who, guided by Krishna's wisdom, becomes an unstoppable force on the battlefield.
It's a whirlwind of alliances, betrayals, and epic duels. I can only imagine the emotional toll this takes on everyone involved.
The Mahabharata doesn't shy away from depicting the horrors of war. It portrays the physical and emotional suffering of the warriors, the grief of those who lose loved ones, and the lasting scars that conflict leaves on individuals and societies.
It's a reminder that even in epic tales of gods and heroes, war is never glorious or without consequences.
Exactly. The Mahabharata forces us to confront the brutal reality of war, even as it explores the philosophical and spiritual dimensions of this conflict.
So after 18 days of intense battles, who emerges victorious?
The Pandavas ultimately triumph. But it's a bittersweet victory. The war leaves countless dead, including beloved heroes on both sides. The battlefield is a testament to the devastating consequences of conflict, a reminder that even in victory, there is profound loss.
It's a Pyrrhic victory, for sure. Even in triumph, there's a sense of profound loss and a recognition of the war's devastating impact on all involved.
Indeed. And that's what makes the Mahabharata such a poignant and enduring epic. It doesn't shy away from depicting the brutality of war and the complexities of human nature. Even as it celebrates the Pandavas' victory, it acknowledges the heavy price paid and the lingering scars of conflict.
It's a reminder that even in the face of triumph, we must acknowledge the losses and the complexities of the choices we make. But even though the war is over, the story doesn't end there, does it? What happens to the Pandavas and the kingdom after such a devastating conflict?
You're right. The Mahabharata continues to explore the aftermath of war, the challenges of rebuilding a shattered kingdom, and the Pandavas' attempts to rule with justice and compassion. But that's a discussion for our final segment. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the Mahabharata. We've journeyed through the epic's mythical origins, witnessed the clash of ideologies in the Kurukshetra War, and grappled with the profound philosophical dilemmas raised in the Bhagavad Gita.
And now, we shift our focus to the aftermath of the war and the Mahabharata's enduring legacy. We'll explore how the epic addresses the challenges of rebuilding a society shattered by conflict and the timeless wisdom it offers for navigating the complexities of life.
It's fascinating how the Mahabharata doesn't just end with the Pandavas' victory. It delves into the messy reality of what happens after the war is won, how individuals and societies grapple with the consequences of their choices.
Exactly. The Mahabharata acknowledges that victory doesn't erase the pain and suffering caused by conflict. It raises questions about justice, forgiveness, and the long road to healing.
So the Pandavas have won the war. But what kind of kingdom have they inherited? A kingdom devastated by 18 days of brutal fighting, countless lives lost, and deep divisions within families and communities.
Precisely. The Pandavas face the daunting task of rebuilding their kingdom, both physically and emotionally. They must address the needs of the people, heal the wounds of war, and establish a just and compassionate rule.
It's a leadership challenge of epic proportions. How do they approach this monumental task?
Yudhishthira, guided by his unwavering commitment to dharma, strives to rule with righteousness and fairness. He seeks to restore order and harmony. But he also recognizes the need for reconciliation and forgiveness.
But can forgiveness truly be achieved after such a devastating conflict? I mean, there's so much pain, anger, and resentment on both sides.
That's the challenge the Mahabharata explores. It acknowledges that forgiveness is a difficult process, but it also suggests that it's essential for healing and moving forward. The epic portrays characters grappling with their grief, their guilt, and their desire for revenge.
It sounds like the Mahabharata is as much about the internal struggles of its characters as it is about the external conflicts.
Absolutely. The epic reminds us that true peace begins within. The Pandavas, despite their victory, must confront their own inner demons, their own flaws and failings, in order to create a truly just and harmonious society.
It's a reminder that even the most righteous individuals are not immune to the complexities of human emotion. Victory doesn't make you a saint.
Exactly. The Mahabharata portrays the Pandavas as human beings, capable of both great compassion and great mistakes. Their journey is not about achieving perfection, but about striving for a higher ideal, even amidst the challenges and imperfections of life.
So the Pandavas are working to rebuild their kingdom, wrestling with their own internal struggles. But what about the Kauravas? Are they completely absent from this part of the story?
The Kauravas are gone, defeated on the battlefield, but their legacy remains, a shadow that hangs over the Pandavas' reign. The epic explores the consequences of their actions, the ripple effects of their ambition and greed.
It's a reminder that even in death, our choices continue to have an impact on the world.
Indeed. The Mahabharata emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things, the cyclical nature of karma, and the enduring power of both good and evil.
Okay, so we've talked about the aftermath of war and the challenges of rebuilding, but what about the Mahabharata's broader message? What timeless wisdom can we glean from this epic tale?
The Mahabharata offers a wealth of insights into the human condition. It explores themes of duty, destiny, free will, the nature of good and evil, and the pursuit of a meaningful life.
Right, because it's not just a historical epic. It's a philosophical and spiritual text that continues to resonate with readers today.
Exactly. One of the key takeaways is the importance of dharma, living in accordance with one's duty and righteousness. The Pandavas,
Yeah.
despite their flaws, ultimately triumph because they strive to uphold dharma even when faced with difficult choices.
But as we discussed earlier, dharma isn't always black and white. Sometimes it requires making tough decisions, navigating moral gray areas.
You're right. The Mahabharata suggests that dharma is not a fixed set of rules, but a dynamic principle that requires careful consideration and adaptation to specific situations.
It's about listening to your conscience, striving to do what's right, even when there are no easy answers.
Precisely. And this emphasis on dharma is closely tied to the concept of karma, the idea that our actions have consequences, both in this life and in future lives. The Mahabharata reminds us that we're all accountable for our choices and that even seemingly small actions can have a ripple effect.
So it's a call to live with awareness and responsibility, knowing that our choices shape not only our own destinies, but also the world around us.
Exactly. And the Mahabharata doesn't just focus on the big, epic moments. It also delves into the nuances of human relationships, exploring the complexities of love, betrayal, loyalty, and forgiveness.
Right. Because even though it's an epic tale with gods and demons, it's also grounded in very human experiences. We see the characters struggle with jealousy, anger, grief, and the desire for revenge, emotions that are as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago.
Absolutely. And through these human dramas, the Mahabharata teaches us about the importance of compassion, empathy, and understanding. It reminds us that even in the midst of conflict, there's always room for forgiveness and reconciliation.
It's a message that's desperately needed in our world today, a world often filled with division and strife.
Indeed, the Mahabharata offers a timeless message of hope, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit has the capacity for transformation and renewal.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Mahabharata, what's the one key takeaway you'd like listeners to remember?
The Mahabharata is a vast and multifaceted epic that offers a wealth of wisdom for navigating the complexities of life. It reminds us that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to choose dharma, to act with compassion and integrity, and to strive for a higher understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
It's been an incredible journey, exploring this ancient epic and uncovering its timeless relevance. I encourage everyone to delve into the Mahabharata for themselves and discover the richness and wisdom it holds. There's a reason this story has endured for thousands of years. It continues to speak to the depths of the human experience, offering guidance and inspiration for generations to come.
Well said. The Mahabharata is a gift, a treasure trove of wisdom waiting to be discovered. May its stories continue to inspire us to live more meaningful and compassionate lives.